Great, Sebastian, thanks. Our final speaker on this panel is Stephen Robertson, Director General of the British Retail Consortium. That's the lead trade association for all the retailers in the UK. Stephen himself, his career has spanned 14 years on the boards and management teams of major UK retailers, including Mars, Unilever and Alberto Culver. Stephen has also served for 7 years as Marketing Director at B&Q and Director of Communications at Kingfisher. What Stephen's going to do is to outline some of the challenges facing the retail industry, those who regulate it, and offer some thoughts on how to address these issues. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome Stephen Robertson.
Gosh, what wonderful surroundings. It's very good to be here. Thank you very much. Where is the device? This works so well in rehearsal. Very good. I thought I'd just start with a quote from Bill Gates. I had the pleasure of meeting Bill Gates and doing an interview with him in the middle of the 90s. And it reminded me of a great statement he made that says, we always overestimate what's going to happen in the short term, but then forget to follow through and underestimate it later. And he concluded his thoughts by saying, so don't be lulled into inaction. And I think that's always the danger, where we see a tremendous rate of change as to whether we actually take our foot off the accelerator at the wrong moment, having failed to see where we're going. Although I do like the fact he didn't get everything right, which I'm sure he corrected very quickly after he made that statement. So let me just introduce who we are. The BRC represents, if you like, a very Catholic overview of retail, big and small, in town, out of town, food and non-food, and increasingly pure play and direct retailers, representing something like about £8 in every 10 spent within the UK. And as you can see, we're based here in London, but also in the other important seats of government within the UK and Europe. But let's not underestimate the size and importance and scale of retail in the UK. It's about £300 billion business. To give you a context there, that's about 20% of the size of the UK's GDP. And therefore, not surprisingly, when I tell you it's the biggest single private sector employer, some 3 million jobs directly within retail. That's about 1 in every 10 jobs. So very large indeed. And it's good to see so many of our members actually here today at this wonderful gathering. So who are our members? I mean, here's just a handful, and I think what you could take out of that is an awful lot of digital understanding and brains within these group of retailers. Frankly, we've got some of the best brains in the country, and I think you've probably just seen. Nick is clearly one of those great brains. It says here anyway. Clearly, a lot of knowledge here. And one of the things I want to leave with you is to make the point that we're very much open for business. UK retail too often is characterised as being a domestic industry hemmed in by the boundaries of the UK. And I think that point has been made very forcefully now during the last few minutes about we're breaking out of those boundaries. Businesses like Nick's are major exporters now. But also, let's not forget, here in the UK, we're always looking as retailers for great new supply chains. Retailers stand or fall on the excellence of their supply chain. We're very much open for business here in the UK to deliver product to the domestic market as well as globally. Now, we collect on a weekly basis from the tills of UK retailers what's going on in UK retail. And I thought I'd just track it back to just give you a flavour of what the marketplace has been like since 2008. And we can see that terrible moment, the post-Lehman crash, where sales dropped dramatically. Forgive me, I should point out, the red line is total sales, the blue line like for like. And you can see that awful moment. But I think the big takeout from this chart is the fact that, relatively speaking, retail in the UK versus other sectors as being pretty resilient. We do seem to be wedded to our shopping come hell or high water. And obviously, it bounced back from some very dark days early on. I was in the States a couple of years ago listening to a CEO there describing their post-annus horribilis. And the first line from the CEO was, well, you remember, everyone, a year ago, we were right there on the precipice. Well, since then, we've taken a big step forward. And I confess, I laughed out loud and suddenly realized I was the only person laughing. But hey, a lot of businesses came back from some very difficult times there. But if we contrast this, where you can see that like-for-like number, roughly 0 over the period, no growth over that period that I've illustrated, and you contrast that with the figures we collect for online growth in the UK, what you can see here is, compared with the 0 on the previous chart, you can see mid-teens growth for non-foods. Now, obviously, there's volatility in there, but nonetheless, we're seeing very strong growth. This is a robust market. The Brits are very e-savvy. They like this stuff, they understand this stuff, and they trust the infrastructure, creating these remarkable growth figures. We also collect, with Google, data on what's happening in terms of online retail searches. And it is fascinating to see that we're continuing to see strong growth, plus 9% there. But the number I draw your attention to is how quickly this market is moving. There is no sign of stability here because mobile and tablet retail searches have doubled year on year, according to our data, more than doubled. And in fact, the interesting thing is, if you begin to disaggregate mobile from tablet, we're already beginning to see that idea it's mobile, it's one kind of behavior, is actually wrong. Mobile, smartphones and tablets are behaving in very different ways. And we're also seeing, from many of the retailers I speak to, very different levels of transactional reward from marketing on a tablet against a phone. And it is interesting too, I apologise for what a busy slide this is, but what this is showing is that if you disaggregate the data back to each retail sector, in every single one of those sectors, you can see that mobile in the UK is dramatically outpacing the average growth in retail search. So once again, just the moment you think you're beginning to understand the market, it moves on apace. And one of the things here in the UK is we've got people here who understand how to take that data and make it part of a profitable and growing business model. And interestingly, and I kind of put this up almost as an aside, but it is fascinating to see when you look at what people are searching for, and this is for our Q2, this is top 10 by alphabetical order. But it is fascinating. In retail, it's so difficult to get lead indicators of where is the consumer going over the next horizon. And this is the stuff they're sitting at home asking about. And this is what's on their mind. In fact, if you get close to some of this data, you can actually pull this out on a daily basis. What's going on in my head? I was looking at Google's data for last week and the week before, and the amount of searches for bicycles and cycling related is quite extraordinary. I have no doubt whatsoever that retailers are taking advantage of that big time. And I was listening to one retailer telling me that equally sports bras have gone big time on Google and are moving off the shelves very quickly. Absolutely related to the Olympics, I have no doubt. So, with an international theme, we're also looking at how retail searches, how many people here in the UK are searching the globe? And interestingly, how many people in the globe are searching the UK? Well, it's interesting, there's a 5% difference here, but look at the growth there of international searches. The idea that the Brits just think about a few shops, a few websites here in the UK. It's not true. More and more, this is becoming global, and we need to make sure, as retailers, we keep up with this. And I think we've already seen one case study that shows how we're ahead of that wave. And it's not surprising, therefore, and I think the point was made earlier, that on a per capita basis, we are, for retail internet spend, #1 globally. It shows that Brits seem to have taken to this medium with great rapidity. As you can see there, the UK more than France and Germany combined. So I think it puts it into context. Interestingly, of course, same statistic could be said of French and German gold medals, but we mustn't be too competitive. Now, slightly dangerously, I was asked if I'd give my personal thoughts about what are the issues in terms of where we go as retail businesses and what are the issues for us. And there's great, you can get these online, Jeff Bezos' letters to his shareholders. And this one's from the year before last, and it's my highlighter here. But he makes the point how when people come to join Amazon, they're astonished by how little time they spend on the actual financial results. He encourages his team, his senior team, to spend much more of their time looking ahead at what are the controllable inputs to the business. And I thought very cheekily I'd have a go at what are 4 controllable inputs to retail business, in my estimation. And if we think about what is retail as great products that don't come back to customers who do, how do we do that? Easy to write and really rather tricky to deliver. So firstly, there's no doubt about it that right at the heart of this is being passionate about people. Retail is the epitome of contact sport. I have the pleasure of being a non-executive director at a business, a little business called Timpson's, a little retail business, and they're very particular about customer service, and they get to great customer service by being a great employer. And they spend a lot of time thinking about their people who they call their stars and how do they keep them. And I have to say, I find that pretty much in retail chief execs spend a lot of time thinking about that. But Timpson also think about people they call rather disrespectfully the drongos, the bed blockers, the people who are slowing the business down and not really keeping up with where the business is going. And they have a lovely expression about helping those people to find their happiness elsewhere. And the net out of that is producing an ever-improving team of people. And I find it's the latter part of that, moving ahead the people who are getting in the way. Perhaps we as retailers, and we're really people-dependent, we're still not good enough at that. But the great thing about the UK is we have employment laws that allow us to take action. In my estimation, the laws are still not sufficiently relaxed to allow us to take action quickly, but nonetheless, compared with much of Western Europe, we are relatively less regulated. That's really important, and if any of our politicians are listening at this moment, can I encourage you to speed up that deregulation of this area? And I think probably the great lesson there is only hiring great people. It's so easy when you have a gap to go out and get anybody to fill it. Suffice it to say, if you can grow an inch every time you hire someone, one day you're going to be standing on the shoulders of giants. And I think we've seen a lot of that thinking right here in the online internet world, where actually Britain has grown a lot of giants. We're blessed here with one of the best talent pools internationally for multi-channel and online. We have people who really understand digital. Frankly, I have to say we can go further. Our educational system can produce more computer scientists, coders, etc. But blimey, we're blessed with having a lot of expertise in the UK. My second point would be about being different, about having a clearly marked out brand proposition. And I think a lovely line, I think perhaps I don't agree with it 100%, but a really pokey point. Advertising's the price you pay for having an unrecognizable, an unremarkable product. Great line, and I think it is a very strong point that we need to observe, that we've got to get close to that. And Richard Reed, who runs Innocent, great British business, made the point to me. He said, some businesses do this better than others. Here's Longaberger. I mean, everyone, when you come in the morning, you know what your business is about. You're about making baskets. That's their head office. I think it's fantastic. And then, of course, sometimes people just don't get it. Suffice it to say, I think a lot of this is about speed. There's a great book written by UKTI called Velocity. It was published this year. And the authors make the point, it's good to be first and it's better to be good, but it's best to be both. I think the essence of the online world is becoming one of speed and excellence. And they make the point later on, really good point. We used to call it about beta, the thing you did before you actually launched it. Now stuff's moving so quickly, you've got to be comfortable with being beta almost all the time. Just want to make a couple of points here. The other thing that is a controllable input, controllable by the government, is getting the regulatory framework here in the UK and here in Europe to be as fundamentally transparent and helpful to online retail. You know, I often think online retail's grown really fast. Why is that? Because the regulators didn't bloody notice it existed. We got on, grew the business. Now they've spotted it. The danger is we'll slow down. Well, actually, the UK government has been fantastically helpful. UKTI's got their heart in the right place in Brussels and are a big ally of us. I'd highlight getting the Consumer Rights Directive sorted out so as we can export to a common market, if you remember that expression, in the 27 nations, absolutely central. And secondly, getting a common mode of payment, getting the SEPA agreement agreed so as we can pay cross-border without problems is central to what we're doing. And I really welcome today's announcement from the government helping investment for British retail globally. And my final line would be, if there's one rule that sits above everything else, be your own customer. It amazes me how many CEOs don't even phone their own switchboard, etc. Don't buy from their own company, don't experience deliveries. We really ought to do that and do that a lot more. See the company, see the offer through the customer's eyes. And I thought I could bring that alive with a 1-minute vid that made me laugh.
Hey, just that, thanks.
You sure?
Yeah.
Username?
Oh, Nick M?
No.
NM 1983?
No.
Zandy Pops?
Sorry.
Zandy Pops?
No, OK. Don't worry, I'll help. What's your postcode?
Oh, it's GU749ZT.
Welcome back, Nick, forever.
Oh, okay.
Please listen carefully to this bread license agreement before continuing with your purchase of a loaf of bread. If you do not, blah, blah, blah. You also agree not to use any bread-based products for any purposes prohibited by United Kingdom law, including without limitation, design, development, manufacture of missiles, chemical, nuclear or biological weapons.
Tick.
I'm afraid you've timed out.
What? Sorry. Hello? Excuse me. Oh, yeah, hey.
Just one loaf, sir.
Yeah, we just...
What's your username?
It's Nick Forever, but number 4, not the...
Gotcha.
Yeah.
OK, I'm just going to check that you're a real person. Could you say that for me?
That's not even a word.
OK, how about this one?
You know what, forget it.
Or this one?
Hippo Potter Nice.
You're in.
Great, I'm in.
£8.85.
It's supposed to be 98 pence.
Plus express delivery.
What's that?
Oh, well, it's express delivery. It's fast. So there's, standard.
Standard.
Standard delivery, that's £4.99.
Why?
Bread insurance. You didn't untick the don't decline bread insurance option.
You know what, I think I'll risk it.
It is quite close to the sell-by date.
Don't care.
98 pence it is. If you want to pop back in 5 business days, it'll be ready for your collection.
Well, I need it now, obviously.
Oh, OK. You want the take-home today price? Well, that's £3.27.
You know what, I'm going to go.
Come back soon.
I won't.
Thank you.